Hey everybody, what's up from Roll, Minnesota, your state of skate. Hey, I'm Butch Lehman, and today we're in for another episode of Rolling Reactions. Now today's episode features a skater that I find synonymous with sweatstance, whether it was his amazing one back at Bittercold Showdown 2006, the 360 disaster sweaty seen here, or we could talk about his ender in Valo 5, where he did the biggest sea ledge I've ever seen, holding that grind for dear life. Anyway, Erik Bailey is the man of the hour, and he is an absolute monster. Today we're going to take a look at some of his older profiles, including his section in Valo 4. Then we'll turn it up the heat with the heat video, and finally we're going to wrap this one up with them apples. So a good conglomeration of Erik Bailey sections, and again, pretty amazing skater. Don't take it from me though, let's watch. All right, today our journey begins with Valo 4, and Erik absolutely destroyed all of his Valo parts, and here he's going Mizu down this really rough, sketchy-looking ledge, coming in after having a drink. And that's a great way to get started. It's a Mizu variation, and again, that's what I remember him best for, are for those sweaties. And one of the other things you're going to notice in all of these sections is Erik is one of those skaters that approaches every obstacle at warp speed. I love that about him. It shows a level of commitment that you just really have to have if you're doing some of these big stunts like that disaster royale to drop. Really nice 360 Mizu there. What I really like about that one is the revert 360 out, spinning one way in, spinning the other way out, and very nice fish up on the bank to ledge there. We also can't undercount some of the park skating that Erik has put together over all the years. As I mentioned, he's been a perennial contest place winner, podium finisher, winner, going back to that 2006 Bittercold Showdown with one of the craziest tricks I've ever seen. And I love the pacing here too, as he's just putting on a clinic on some of these spots. Look at that, going true fish on the ledge after doing all those other true spin variations. We also get a zero spin Macchio. That looked like a front torque to top acid. Again, when he goes to a spot, he just lays the hammer down, drops trick after trick after trick. And that's one of the things I really appreciate, is just that consistency. Love the Savannah there. That's what I would call it anyway. Otherwise, we could call it a 270 back unity. One of my favorite tricks. Anyway, I mentioned this earlier, but I've personally associated Mizu variations with Erik Bailey's skating. But one of the other ones to watch out for are his acid variations. Right there, dropping down into the top acid. Very difficult trick to do, especially since you can't really see that under ledge. It's a bit disguised. And gosh, that was perfect. The sweaty up on the extension ledge with the Luke hang spin out. Those little details, I'm telling you, it's the bonus points. This one would be scary too. You got this over ledge dropping into the bank, fakie, very steep approach. And that one too, that bank is like not a 90-degree angle, making it even harder to spin off of. Speaking of spinning, that 360 going off that rail over the fence, I believe that would be a trick that would be way more scary to do than the video gives it credit for. Jumping off at that point, getting the spin over, a little bit blind for half a second as you're going over the fence. A lot of things could go wrong there. This one more opportunity of where you'd want the speed that Erik provides into his tricks. Textbook negative acid there. There we go, sweaty to the 360 topsoul, 360 back in. One of the things that I've always loved about his video parts here is just the number of tricks that you get as well. You get all of your money's worth when you're watching an Erik Bailey section, because the rapidity of all the different tricks and all of the different obstacles he brings in. He does a lot of ledges, a lot of bank to ledges. Here we got the alley-oop top acid to 270 front royale. Even bringing us some wacky park-style maneuvers and showing off his spins. We got a 720 there before we had like a fakey bio flip. And that spin out is just, it's textbook. You really can't do it any better than that. Just the grace with which he's able to roll away, absorb the landing. This is probably my favorite trick in the section, that 270 like true spin front torque to fish brain to drop. And he even has like the Luke hang style out on it. It's just really a great section. I love this one. I'm glad we could start it off with this one. All right, next we'll turn up the heat with the Heat team video, and already we're starting it off with, you guessed it, a sweat stance out of Erik on this one. Now the Heat team had a really amazing team back in its heyday, and I believe Heat produced wheels as well as clothing. Jeff Stockwell was one of the notable team members there. And this video, I believe, was about 2006 when this one came out. That slam looked awful. That's exactly what you don't want to do when skating transitions, bowls, is take in those awkward angles and end up bottoming out. So there we got right foot sweaty, 360 out, super clean. And then looking here, left foot sweaty, 180 out. Got the right foot and the left foot. Difficult to tell which one is the switch, which one is the natural. Making it look really good. Also, a really cool one-footed variation that I don't think I could say that I've seen on ledges before. Maybe I have without remembering it. But those 1 foot to 1 foot switch-ups on frame tricks always look really good. This one was another one I really liked. The textbook true spin top acid. Pulling the 180 out, and that's a pretty big drop on that. Can always go wrong on those true spin tricks. It's easy for your foot to slide out, so glad he was able to keep control of that one. Putting together a line here. Ooh, nice top acid up on the extension. I like that. Definitely getting some bonus points for that. Speaking of bonus points, this is probably the world's greatest spot. I don't know what's going on with this drainage ditch, but it's like the concrete is new and perfect. The rails are perfect. The angles of them. That's the kind of place that I want to skate for sure. Got a 3-piece here on that set of ledges. This is pretty unique too, hitting the 90-degree angle. And it's this type of creative skating that was really flourishing in this time period. We're talking the era just after Bang came out. I think that video from Mind Game was one of the first ones that really brought to the spotlight and to the mainstream attention some of that creative improv skating. That's not typically what I would associate with Erik. I think of him more as like a run and gun, super fast, super hard-hitting skater. And it's nice to see some of those different pieces mixed into a section. Here we have this spot again. Man, hitting that true soul, going that fast. Super dangerous. Got a disaster into that one, front far. Even with the car on the side of the rail there, that's something that I think would distract me in a spot like that, is seeing that car right next to you, thinking of a car door opening or accidentally running into it. Something that I probably wouldn't risk personally, but I know Erik has the consistency, the talent to make all these tricks work out. Nice to see some of his park skating too, because he is an absolute monster when it comes to park skating. And all those competitions, the hoedowns, the Bittercold Showdowns, the Winter Clashes, all those legendary competitions, Erik was always a contender to take the top spot. You can see why here. He has consistency for days. This is another cool one. I remember this this line. It's got the 0 topsail on the ledge, and you got rail up to ledge to back down to rail. Really interesting piping system there too. That was a classic. The 270 mute grab out to me is just the added touch that makes that trick so much better. And again, going back to his park skills, we got the corkscrew 720, gap up, topsail back in, and then a nice 540 to finish things out. Of course, if topsail isn't enough, we also have those 450 front farves. Alley-oop fish. Gonna hit a line here to the regular fish. Symmetry. I love symmetry. That's kind of my thing. Anybody that skated with me, especially street skating, doing lines, knows how much of a stickler I am about having symmetry in those lines. Really cool spot here, and that's exactly how I would hope somebody would use this. Little angled wall ride back over to the rail. I don't know about this ledge. This is something that just has danger and stay away written all over it. And we entered this section with a sweaty. We got a sweaty right there at the end. It's not the ender though. The ender is this massive royale to drop. It's a good one. All right, finally we'll wrap this up with Erik Bailey's part in Them Apples. And this is a pretty old video. I believe this is going on 20 years now. I think it was released in about 2004. And pretty recognizable spot here from some of the Mind Game videos. Erik adding his signature on there with the royale, transferring over to dark side, almost like cess sliding grind, and the drop. And I'm not sure how long Erik was skating at this point. This was about when I started. I started in about 2001, so this is pretty early on. And you can see some of the age difference, but he's still bringing the heat just like he would in all of those later sections that we've already watched. So we're kind of going backwards chronologically here. And he's getting some action down this crazy slide. I don't know. I've seen a couple of videos that remind me a bit of that. I think back to the Atlanta water park tour in the, I think that was, what video is that? Black Market? I think that was in the Black Market video, but those types of things, creative spots. Ooh, front torque to topsail. Really cool angle here. I like the fisheye over on that side of the rail. Good touch from the filmer. Also, I got to give a shout out for this video being 20 years old. This footage looks great. Not typical of YouTube to get footage this old and this high quality. Big out ledge disaster. Hitting the 270 out, and there's actually a stair set down at the bottom that he had to gap over. So moderating the speed and getting enough speed to clear it. Holy dropping, Batman. Man, especially with that little rail sticking out down at the bottom there, the angle really needs to be precise on that one, and it's a lot of impact to absorb. Fortunately, there was a little bit of transition down there to help take some of the speed. That's still wild. That looks like it's inside of a skate park. Massive drop rail. That was the thing back in those days. It was all about the big gaps, the big drops, the big drop rails. We're back at the skate park. Skating transitions, and that's something I can fully support and fully approve, because if you guys have watched the channel, you've watched me skate before, you know how much I love quarter pipes. Transitions, by far my favorite thing to skate. And you gotta love this too. That was just a topsail. I know a lot of people are usually a bit uncertain about just throwing in a regular topsail into one of their video parts, but with how square that rail was and how topside it was, I think that just looked really good as a clip. 540 off the rock. We're back to this spot. What's he got on the down? Ooh. Is that like an in-spin front fast slide? I don't know. And linking it up into a line. Going up the ledge, front far, 450 out. Like no speed left, just straight down. That's tough on the knees. Fortunately, he was much younger here, and the knees could probably hand that shock a little bit better. I've always loved that trick. It's not one of my better ones, but the 270 back torque to sole grind, it's a good one. I need to start doing those again. Over the fence. These types of tricks always feel way more deadly because a lot can go wrong. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Rolling Reactions featuring Erik Bailey. Again, Erik is an absolute legend within the sport. He's done some of the hardest tricks that have ever been done. I know I featured him on my own top 20 tricks ever performed list, which you guys can check out on the channel if you're curious about what some of those other big tricks were that ended up on that best list of all time. But anyway, I wish nothing but the best for Erik. I hope you're doing well. I saw him on Jump Street Podcast a while back. I think there was a house fire, a devastating house fire that he went through, so hopefully at this point he's been rebounding. I know there was a GoFundMe out there, but nothing but love and best wishes and support to one of the OGs of blading. Erik, hope to see you on the blades again, man. I hope you're still out there doing it. I hope you're staying well, and that goes for the rest of you as well. I'm Butch Lehman of Roll, Minnesota, reminding you to stay safe, stay healthy, and get out there and do some rollerblading. Till next time, everybody. Peace.